What up, what up, what up? Thank you for tuning in and welcome to our first episode of the Jesus for the Win podcast. Hey, let's go.
I'm your co-host, Sapphire.
And I'm your other co-host, Oscar, a.k.a. 94, a.k.a. It's 90.
I told him not to do this.
I have a lot of nicknames.
No, he doesn't.
I should. But yeah, so, welcome. And
we're just...
get into it.
Yeah, we're just here to, we're going to talk about our testimonies and just a little bit about ourselves and why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, first episode, right? Figure, explain why and how we got to where we're at now. And
exactly.
Makes sense. At least to me it does.
At least to us it does. So we are married, of course, and we've been married for 8 months now, but dating for 5 years.
Yeah.
And we have 3 children. So, yeah.
Yeah. 3.
Yeah.
Send help. No, I'm kidding. But
Stop it.
yeah, so you should probably get into yours first because in order to explain mine, it kind of goes into how you were there first before me.
The structure of it all.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and say my testimony first.
Go for it.
So I guess I'll just explain my life before Christ, before getting saved. So, I grew up in a one-parent household that did cause a lot of hate and hurt. And, I went through sexual abuse as a child and depression, suicidal thoughts. High school, I was super bad. I was involved with a lot of fighting and gangs and just partying, new age witchcraft and into astrology and crystals and just
Yeah, the time you asked me for the time I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to see if our stars aligned. Yeah. I was really deep into it, guys. I even have some signs tattooed on me, and it's just horrible now. But, tarot cards, all that stuff. I even had some encounters with ghosts and spirits and seen some stuff, heard some stuff. So, yeah, I've definitely been through some experiences, especially after high school, just in the partying lifestyle, the clubs, just promiscuous and a lot of drinking and drugs and stuff. And, having 2 children during that time. And, I was not the best mother, if we're just going to be real and honest. I was still lost and still kind of just going out and doing my thing. But, that was just where I was at before. I was just a lost person. And, I didn't grow up with knowing God or having faith or anything like that. We went to 2 different churches. We tried a Catholic church. We tried a Mormon church at one point.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of I don't want to say weird, but I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was very different. Yeah, I was 8, so it was a long time ago. And so, we're just jumping around trying to find something, I guess, but we could never just settle.
Wait, were you riding a bike?
No.
You were going to people's houses? No. In the white shirt and tie?
No, it wasn't like that at all.
Oh.
At least, I don't know how it works, but I wasn't doing that. So, yeah, we were just trying to settle in and we could never find a place. My parents, I love them to death, but, they weren't there themselves, believers themselves or spiritually there. So, I didn't have that experience growing up with my faith. So it was very hard for me to believe in God or believe in anything. But I did believe in some sort of higher power. Just didn't know what or who. So that was my life before Christ. And so the day I got saved, as they say, was in March 2020. And so that kind of just happened with my aunt and my uncle who live, not where we live. They were they came down to visit like any other time, and we're having the cookout and everybody hanging out, and
La carnita asada.
hanging out at my parents' apartment. And so I'm just in the living room, on my phone watching TV, and just overhearing the conversation from afar. I can hear like little bits and pieces. I'm just like, what the heck are they even talking about right now? But my aunt or them would be just like, hey, you want to come and hear what your aunt and your uncle are saying? They're telling some crazy story. And I was just like, yeah, I can hear a little bit from, what I'm like hearing and paying attention to, but nah, I'm good. I'm fine. And so they just asked me that a couple of times. I was just like, why are they asking me this? Like, I don't really want to hear about it, honestly. And so eventually I got up and went to the kitchen, and then my tia came to me, and my aunt, and she was just like, are you hearing? Like, Theo, did you hear our story that we're telling everybody? And can you believe that? Can you believe your Theo? And I was just like, well, believe what? Like, what are we talking about? Like, I can hear little different things here and there, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about. And she's just like, well, have a seat. Like, let's tell you. So I was just like, all right, like, here we go. Let me just do it, right? You're going to listen to your elders and just sit there and hear what they're going to have to say. So they go on and tell this story of this experience that happened. And so one night before bed, right away, my uncle said that he wasn't feeling well. He was feeling like really hot, kind of like a fever sort of feeling. And so they went to bed, and for him, in his point of view, he said that he didn't know that he woke up or what he was doing, but in this like dream or something, that he was in this dark place, and then he was just wandering off, and it was just completely darkness. And then all of a sudden it was just fire, and it was hot. And right away he said he knew he was in hell. Yeah. Like, he knew he was in hell. And so he just saw like demons and all this evil, ugly stuff. And while that's happening, on my aunt's point of view, because, they're both telling this story at the same time, she's saying that she woke up because she heard growling noises. And that kind of like, startled her and woke her up. And so she sees that, he's not next to her and not in bed. So she decides to like look for him and call out for him. And like, she never got a response. So they live in a 2-story house. So she went downstairs, and that's where she found him. And she found him on the floor in the living room, and he was on his knees, and he was just completely out of it. Like, he wasn't responding to her. There was just like
not there.
Yeah, totally not there. Like somewhere else, like, when you're zoned out, just completely somewhere. And that he was, she could feel him hot and all this stuff. And then like he started making growling noises right in front of her. And she was just like freaking out.
I bet.
Yeah, she was like, what?
It's scary.
Yeah, what's going on? And then he started speaking in some like weird language with some demon type voice. And then she knew. She was like, okay, there's a demon in here. Like he's going through something. So she would just, she was there praying over him, like just, doing all that, that she needs to help him get out of it. And while she's doing that from the outside, inside, he just said that he was just going through these experiences, seeing all these things. And then eventually, thank God that, he got out of, that situation and where he was in. And then after, he was just like, I was in hell, and I saw hell, and I saw these things, and I believe there's a hell. And so once they were telling me that, I was like, I believe you. Him of all people, like I forgot to mention, he was an atheist. He didn't believe in God at all. I don't know if he really went to church, but I know he wasn't about church. Like they never went or anything. And so as long as, he's been in our life. So yeah, when he was talking about that, I was just like, yeah, him of all people I know is not lying. And everything that he was just describing, I've had my own experience with a dream as well, being in hell. And I was just like, that sounds very similar. So I believed him. And then they were just like, after that incident that he had a little bit more of like, more, I guess, like little visions or like God speaking to him. And, they were just, he was just getting to know him, reading and all this stuff. So he just made a drastic change. And just for my aunt and everybody to see that was just, it was something. Like he really did encounter something. And I was just like, wow, like that's crazy, and, they're just, as they were telling me the story, they just started talking to me and then kind of just like preaching, the good
so
word.
They started like ministering to you.
Like kind of ministering to me. Yeah. And then I was just like, okay, like, I'm not really ready for this, or I don't know what this is, but sure, I'm just listening. And then everything they're just saying, like how Jesus loves me and he forgives me, and that they can see and they can feel this like hurt and all this pain and like anger that I have and that I'm going through, and that I can let it go. And if I want to let it go, that, all I have to do is like pray and say it out loud. And I was just like, everything they were saying was literally like right to my heart. Like everything was on point, like everything that they were just saying. So I started crying, I was just like going through these emotions and everything that they were just telling me. And then I was just like, I don't think I can do this. Like, God forgiving me, like, I've been through so much. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But, I was praying, like, she told me to say this prayer. It was like a sinner's prayer, basically. And so I was repeating that. And as, I was repeating that and everything she was saying, I started crying even more. I was just bawling, y'all. Like, I was crying. And like, she sees how I was like, really crying. So she gets up and I'm sitting down and I'm just like holding her and she's just comforting me, and, we're still saying the prayer. And then all of a sudden I feel this heat in my body, some like tingling, numbing feeling. And it just went from my head all the way down to my toes. And I was just like, what is going on? Like, and so, I was feeling that feeling. And then as we're saying continuing saying the prayer, I just started feeling this like lightness, I guess. Like if I was going to float, like literally like if I was going to float away from where I was sitting. And I was just like, it kind of
scared.
Yeah, it kind of scared me at first. So scared that I told my Thea, I was just like, Thea, I'm going to fly away. Like I'm going to float away. No, seriously. I was like gripping onto her.
You felt like you were attached to the balloons?
Yes.
Like up?
Yeah, honestly. And I felt I was going to fly away. So I was just like, hold on to me. Like, I'm going to fly. And she's just like, it's okay. Like, that's the Holy Spirit. I was like, what is that? Like, I had no idea what she's talking about. But she's like, it's okay. It's a good thing. Like, you're feeling the Holy Spirit right now. Like, and I was just like,
what?
Yeah. I was just like, what is she talking about? But at the same time of like being like, what is this? And like startled. I did feel this feeling of like peace. Like I wasn't like scared. It wasn't like a fear scared. It was just like, okay, this is something new, obviously, right? And I felt like this like peace and this calmness within me while I'm freaking out. So it wasn't like I was just completely freaking out, having a panic attack or something. And so I'm there holding her, crying. We're saying the prayer, and as soon as I was done, like I had this peace and this like joy that I can't even explain. It was just unexplainable joy and peace. I was just so like jittery, and I was smiling, and like they could see it on me. She was just like, your little fire, like it,
I understand.
it's like there, like your fire is on fire right now. It's like, what is she talking about? What? Like, I don't know. But I was just so happy and just, so full of joy. And then, they were just talking to me a little bit more and just telling me like, hey, you got to like, read the Bible, pray, just start having a relationship with, with God and go to church and stuff. So I was just like, okay, like that's what I'm going to do. Like, this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. It was a wanting and a willing thing that I really felt like that I wanted to do this. It wasn't something that just because they were telling me, I was just like, yeah, like this
I
is,
want to do
yes,
this.
like this is good for me and I want to do this. So, I did start doing that, but I didn't have any like guidance, anyone to tell me like, hey, this is where you start, or this is what, you're reading. This is what, this is about. Yeah, I would attend my parents' church, but in all honesty, I just didn't feel right in there. Like it just wasn't like, I don't know. I just didn't feel, not to dog the church or anything, but it just wasn't for me, and, I didn't, my parents were, not there as believers yet, unfortunately. So I was alone doing this, by myself, trying to figure it all out and trying to understand. So obviously when you're doing it alone and you don't have any guidance, you're going to fall back and you're going to backslide.
Yeah, that's important, because that stops a lot of people. Like that gets in the way of a lot of people. Like if you're not surrounded by other people who believe or in the church, like you don't know what to do.
You get tempted. You obviously do get you do get tempted. So that was where I was at. Like I was reading, then I wasn't reading, and I had my convictions for certain things that I would work on and felt, and immediately it was like a transformation, and it was a change. Like I stopped doing this, I stopped doing that, and like it came so natural with the peace and the love that I was going through. But other things were a little bit more harder to work on. So just step by step trying. We're all sinners and we're not perfect. So I was just trying, but I'd get off track, and that me and you in our relationship, you met me when I wasn't a believer, and then we would break up and get back together, honestly, guys. And then there was one moment where we did get back together, and I told him like, hey, you were different. Yeah, this is my life now. Like I gave my life to Christ.
And I was kind of like,
what is this?
What's she talking about?
Yeah, and this kind of just plays into
my testimony.
His testimony.
So it's my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. So a little background. I mean, I've always believed in God.
Mm-hmm.
That was never like a thing where I didn't. I mean, I guess like anyone, I've had doubts sometimes, because you like hear things and you listen to things, and, scientists and stuff, and you like watch videos and stuff. So like, it's like, well, maybe, like stuff like that. Yeah. But I've always believed in God. I grew up Catholic. When we used to live in Freeport, we would go to a Catholic church like every Sunday to some church in Clute, I think. And we would go there all the time. And then when we moved here, like we kind of stopped. We stopped going like that, but there was always like Catholic stuff in the house. Like there was always a presence there. Like my mom had, like stuff of La Virgencita and San Judita stuff and like Saint, like, so it was always there.
For all the Mexicans out there,
Yeah, I know. It was there. So like, we just wouldn't go to church like that for some reason. And then there was a time where I didn't go to church at all for years, like a long time I didn't go to church. And I didn't go to church, and I started talking to you again, and then you had gone through that. And so then I started going to church with you because you invited me, because now you were going to church.
To my parents' church.
Yeah. And
First
I
church.
was like, okay. So I would just go just because, because you were wanting to go and you were inviting me. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I remember going and like thinking like, okay, this is cool. Like it feels good. Like I need this in my life. Like it was a step in the right direction, but it wasn't like how it is now. It wasn't like 100% all the way in, and then we started going to that church, and it was like, like, okay. And then we moved to where I lived, and we found Living Way there. And I liked that church a lot better. Yeah. It felt not that it was better, but like I just felt more comfortable there. It felt more for me, I liked it more, the whole vibe and everything. Yeah. But even then it still wasn't like 100%. It was just, so it was cool, and my faith was growing a little by little there. But again, like I wasn't all the way in. Then we moved back here, And we found this church. Well, again, like we went back to that same church you would go to first. And
we even tried a different church.
In a different church. And I even told you, like, they just don't feel right. Like, it's just like, it's just not for us. It's not for me, And then at that time, we were like more serious and, about the whole family thing and everything. So I was trying to be more, like leading the family. And I was like, yeah, like I don't think it's right for us. And like you and the boys, like, it's not right. And like, there's something, like, it's not it, So then we found out about the other church, which we're at now. And yeah, as soon as we walked in there, it was like, this is it. Like, there's just something about this place. Like, this is where we need to be. Like, this is good, And I didn't know at the time, what it was, but I knew I felt that, So then fast forward, we're going to that church. I like it, but I'm still
not consistently.
Yeah, not consistently. Like we would miss sometimes.
Yeah.
You even gifted me this Bible for Christmas. And I appreciated it. Like, it was cool. But from Christmas to the day I got saved, I never opened it.
Yeah.
It was just in the box that it came in. Like, I never opened it. Being honest. Like, I didn't.
No, of course, I know.
I didn't open it.
That did cause a lot of arguments in our relationship, because I was there and he wasn't there. So, I felt the same way that, you felt going into the church we're at now. I felt completely welcomed. Everyone there was just so welcoming and nice and actually trying to get to know you and, being more involved. And I felt peace there and I felt like home. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where we're supposed to be. And so having that feeling, just kind of led to me and you with the arguments even more in that area, because I was just like, I'm here and you're not here. And this is a problem.
But finding the church and then finding the church right now I kind of think back at it and it was like baby steps.
Yeah.
So it's like we found the church. Okay, now we're here. But even then, I wasn't all the way in. Like, I wasn't there yet, And so that's what started causing the kind of, we started drifting apart a bit.
A little distance.
Yeah. And I remember, like, it was just weird and you were weird and you were just weird and you were acting weird and I could tell something was wrong. Like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because you were just real distant and the way you would talk to me, the way you would act around me, I was like, something's wrong. Like, and I remember I finally asked you, like, what's going on, because it was bugging me and I could tell. And then you told me, like, I need certain things from you and you're not giving me that. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And you're like, I need you and I want you to lead us, as the man of the house, as the head of the house, but I want you to lead us in a godly way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't really say anything, but in my head, I was like, how? Like, what does that even mean? How am I supposed to do that? What does that even look like?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like, I don't even know. You know what I mean? Because, I'm lucky, I'm blessed that I have both my parents still to this day. And my father was a great father. Like, I say it all the time. Like, if I could be just half the father he was to us, like, I know I'd be a great dad. But it wasn't in a spiritual way. He just, we weren't really, into like God like that. We weren't like reading the Bible. We weren't going to church like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't in that way. So I didn't have that example. Like, I didn't know what that. So when you told me that, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, I was freaking out. And it was really bothering me for a few days because I was like, man, like, I don't even know what that means. I can't do this. Like, we're going to end up like not working out and having to separate, like, because like, it's just not looking good. Like, and I don't know if I can give her what she's asking for. Like, I don't even know what that means.
No.
That same Sunday, the very next Sunday, well, it was like
within that week.
Yeah, that same week,
within
like that Sunday from that same week. We go to church and all this is heavy on my mind, and Pastor Christian gets up there and he's doing his thing with his movie analogies and stuff, because he loves movies.
Yeah.
He always uses that in his sermons to like get his point across. And he's getting there and even before that, like as soon as we walked in and worship started, like something was different. Like I could feel something was different. Like something was happening. Like I was singing, I had like this rush come over me from my head to my feet. Like I had my hands up, like praising, and I've never done that before. Like I always wanted to, but it always felt weird, you know? Like I
Don't
would,
be that
because I would
person.
see other people doing it, and I'm like, oh, cool, and I'll try to do it, like, you know? But it's like, people are looking at me, or like, it just feels weird. Like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. You know what I mean? Like, you're kind of like embarrassed about it or shy about it. But this time, like, it didn't matter. Like, it just felt right, and like I had to do it. And I was singing these songs like I've never even heard before. Yeah. And I was like crying, not like bawling, but like just teary-eyed and tears rolling down my face, you know. And I remember singing, but in my head I was like, why do I feel this way? Why am I crying? How am I singing these songs? Like I don't even know these. Like, I've never listened to Christian music before, like never. You know, so the only songs I knew were the songs that they would play at church when we would go, you know. Yeah. But even then, it's not like I was really paying attention and getting, you know, like. So I was like, man, something's happening. Like, man, I don't know. So then worship's over, and I'm there like trying to compose myself. Like, all right, cool. Like we're tired. Like we're trying to like wipe tears out my face, you know, over there. And then, like I said, Pastor Christian comes on and he's doing his thing, and I'll never forget. Like everything he was saying was kind of like, it was like little jabs at me, you know. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, like I felt that, like like the whole thing, it's like if his sermon was for me, you know. And then he got to a point towards the end where he said, you know, that there's a problem in the church in America where a lot of men are like deciding not to go anymore. They don't take their families. They don't do this because they feel like they can't lead in that way because that they feel like they're not good enough and they don't deserve that. And man, when he said that, it's like I got punched in the gut. Like, and I started bawling, sitting there, like crying, like ugly crying, like Kim Kardashian crying, like ugly crying. And I was trying to like keep it together because there's people all around us sitting, you know, and I didn't want them to be like, oh,
what's wrong with this guy?
What's going on with this guy? Like, you know, like help, you know. So I was just sitting there, like trying to keep it in. I was bawling, and he just kept going, and everything he was saying was just like just hitting me and hitting me, and that's the first time that I realized like God was speaking to me. Yeah. You know, and it's like in that moment he said like, that's you, but you don't have to be that. Like you can be the person your wife needs you to be. You just have to let it go. Let it go. Like just make the decision, let it go. Yeah. You're not these things that you think you are. Yeah. You know?
Of course.
You know, he was like basically telling me like I'm holding my own self back. Like, you know, and it's just this feeling like exactly like how you said with yours, like, yeah, like it was scary because it was so powerful. Like it's so strong.
It's so strong. Oh yeah.
And
that's the Holy Spirit.
It's scary. You know, I was scared. I was like, what's happening? But at the same time, it was this peace and like just this love that I've never felt before. Yeah. You know, and I remember I kept it to myself because like the whole day after that, because church is in the morning. Yeah. The whole day.
I didn't know anything about this at all. Like from the corner of my eye, obviously we're sitting next to each other. I could see like, you know, that he was like tearing or crying a little bit. But I, you know, just thought like, hey, because that sermon I already knew from, you know, like dating in our conversations before when we've talked about like our insecurities because, you know, we talk about everything, but I knew that was something you always dealt with was just feeling like unworthy. So I had no idea.
And I was just like, I was just trying to figure out what happened. Like the whole day I was just like, what? You know, I was just trying to process it, I guess. And then it wasn't until late that night once we were already in bed that I was like, I need to tell you something. And then I told you everything. And like, I think it was that moment that I realized what happened. And I was like, I'm different. Like I got saved. Like I really, because even at the end of the sermon, the service, you know, they always do that prayer, you know, to accept Jesus in your heart if it's the first time or if you want to come back, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I've done that before because I wanted to, like I really did want to, but it never like stuck, you know, like it never stuck with me, you know, but that day, after all that, and then at the end of that, when I said that prayer, it was like
different.
Yeah, it's like literally, it's like when we went to the concert and Tori Deshawn said, it's like all I know is that I was one way before,
Yeah, and
then I got saved, and now I'm one way. I'm a completely different way now after. Like that's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
and I was just trying to think about it all day, like what happened, and then at night it hit me like, man, like I had an experience like this.
Yeah.
Like Jesus saved me. Like I really, like He's really in me now. Like the Holy Spirit's really in me now. Like I accepted it.
And I could tell He was, you know, just seeing you. It was just, and you telling me.
And then even like with the baptism, like I never thought about getting baptized. I never had the urge to like, oh yeah, maybe I didn't. Like I always said like, nah, like I don't need to get baptized. Like I already did it when I was a baby in the Catholic Church. Like, it's the same, like whatever, you know, because you had gotten baptized when you got saved.
Yeah, it was like the year within I got saved.
Yeah. And so I never got that like, oh, I need to, you know what I mean? And then, but when this happened and we were there and I was telling you, and after I finished telling you the whole story and everything, I was like, I have to get baptized. Like I just had this like, you know, urge. This like in me, just like, I have to get baptized. And it wasn't about, I guess, because, you know, people see you and it's like, I didn't care. Like I just, I knew I was different on the inside, and I knew what what being baptized like symbolizes. You know, you go in, old self come out, new self reborn. So I wanted to display that, like, that you know, outward, you know, but it wasn't for like, not even for me. Like I wanted to show Him, like, I'm serious about this. Yeah. You know, like I wanted so God can see, like, I am reborn, and I'm showing it on the inside and on the outside with this, you know, symbolic, you know, dunking and coming back up, you know, so
baptized by the water and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. And
it was just so funny how that happened too, because right after, you know, you got saved, within that month or so, right? Like they had
it was 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
So I was like, sign me up.
They had baptism.
Sign me up. I have to get baptized.
Yeah. So we both signed up and we got baptized together that day. Yeah.
And then this book came out and we've been reading ever since. We finished the New Testament.
Yeah.
And now we're in the Old Testament. We're in Genesis and Genesis,
so we've just been trying, of course, you know,
but
just
we've been reading,
just trying to seek God. We are more involved in our church where, you know, we actually both serve and, you know, we're building community. And
I would have never thought that I'd be serving at a church the way we're serving now.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Ever.
I never had that urge. I never had like, oh, you know, like everything just changed, man. And it changed for the better. We've met so many great people.
Yes, we have.
I'm on the worship team now. Like, you know, like I was in choir, and people that know me know I made music and you know, so I've done like little shows and stuff at like bars and places, you know. But now it's like I'm using my little gift
to worship
God, you know. And it's like I never thought I'd be doing that, but I'm happy. Like it's
a blessing.
It's exciting. I love it, you know. And I know, bro, I've changed because this time last year, I would have been like, football season's coming up. I'm not going to be able to go to church, or I'm going to have to go to the 10 o'clock service to be out to catch the game at 12. Because it'll be like, that would have been my
excuse,
my thought process. Yeah, that would have been my mindset. And I don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, not that I don't care. Like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm like, I can keep up with it. Like, I can, whenever I have a chance, I'll check the score on my phone. Like, you know what I mean? But it's not like, oh man, like I have to go, like the game, you know, like before. No, it's like, no, like I want to be at church on Sundays. I want to be there worshiping on Sundays.
Yeah.
Help, serve. And whenever I'm done, then I can go watch whatever I want. You know what I mean? Like,
of course.
But I can't even fathom the thought of putting that over going to church or serving or just over God in general now. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And that's so crazy to me because
you never thought he'd be there. Same.
Never. Like even my parents, like if my parents were to hear this, like they'd be like, what? because
Over
they know
football?
me. Like sports
Yeah.
in general, like I've always loved sports. I've always been like, no, I can't go because I want to watch the game, or we got to be back at this time because, or like, you know, if they're gonna do something, it's like, nah, I'm not gonna go because there's a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's always been me.
I get you. Yeah. See, like that was your
that
thing.
was the most important thing. You know, like I
thing,
gotta
yeah.
catch the game. Like
Of
how am I not
course.
gonna catch the game? But now it's just like,
Yeah, that's
I got church. Like,
yeah, that's the beauty
serving,
of
like,
that's the beauty of being saved by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Like it's just a complete transformation and complete change. Like everything exactly like you're one way before and now you're completely other way.
And in no way are we saying that we're perfect, that we don't
course not.
sin, that we sin every day, bro.
Yeah, everybody does.
Every day we sin, and I pray for forgiveness every day because we're human. I still struggle. You know, I get upset sometimes when I shouldn't. Patience is a big one for me, and I'm working on it. And I pray, and you know, just getting angry, and you know, especially, I mean, you know how I would get driving with people and like road rage or whatever. Like working on that, you know, and you know, you still sin. You know, you still do things. You know, you're human. You have those urges. You have those. You know, how do you say it? Like your human understanding, like your earthly understanding of things and reacting, you know, it's just the only difference now is that I know what's inside of me. So I make the decision to ignore
those temptations. That's sin.
And just pray and breathe and, you know,
fall into the word.
Exactly. And remember, you know, verses or just talk to God and be like, this is happening. I want to, you know, old me wants to like get mad and react like this, but like, I know you got me. Like, it's okay. And honestly, like, it helps. Like, that makes you feel so much better. You kind of like, okay, like I'm good.
Calm,
you know, but we do with things every day. Like we still.
Yeah, we're not perfect.
You know, nobody
no one is. But, you know, it's the growth that matters and just, you know, turning away from those sins and those temptations and just following, you know, following Jesus and following God and the word and doing. Yeah, of course. It's
we
gonna take time.
We have Pastor John tell us, like, he's like, I've been doing this for
years.
Longer than most of y'all been alive. And I still deal with stuff, you know, and I still get, you know, it's like we're human.
We all are. Yeah, we all are.
It happens. But, you know, like they say, you just get into the word and we're reading the Bible right now. And I know we're going to go through it again because this is my first time reading the Bible.
Yeah, this is my first time reading it. Truly.
You know, I'm learning these things and
we're learning new things all the time.
Get into. I know we're gonna get into it probably the second time around. It's like more like understanding because there's some crazy stories in there, bro.
Oh yeah, you got like all things you can possibly want in a book in one.
Yeah, it's something, but it's good,
it's good for the soul.
Yeah, our lives have changed.
Have changed.
My life has changed. And then everything that you would tell me before, after that, because like I said, you were there before me, I finally understood.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you know, I get what you're saying now. It's like that one time when we were reading and we read that one particular passage and it made me remember this argument we had some time back. And I was like, I get it now. Like, I understand why you were saying what you were saying and acting the way you were acting.
Yeah.
And I got mad for it, you know, but now I understand why. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry. And like, I remember I felt bad. I started crying a bit. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know.
I know.
You know? So things like that, you know, but it's all been for the better. And ever since then, I hope I can speak for both of us. Like, our relationship has gotten so much better.
Yeah, our marriage has grown, you know. So much better, more communication.
God is in the center of our relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Because God is above us and in the center of it. And, you know, we're seeking Him together. And so, you know, living this
I do be forgetting to pray before I eat. I'm working on it. It keeps slipping my mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But, I mean, it happens.
But it's getting better because before I would forget and I wouldn't even remember till way after. Now I'm remembering in the middle of me eating. So it's like getting closer.
It's getting closer.
So before I'll be eating, I'm like, and then I'll pray real quick. Like, I'm sorry, God.
It's okay. It's of course, it's called growth. You know, it's not everything happens like all at once, right?
Yeah.
But still.
But yeah, those are our testimonies,
Yeah.
hopefully,
People.
maybe someone can relate, or at least maybe hearing it from us, that this is real.
Who knew
man.
us? People who knew us before.
This is real. This is.
Yeah, we're about this life.
Yeah,
Jesus life. So if you guys have any any questions or comments, of course, go ahead and email us or send us a message on all our social platforms. But even for our next couple of episodes that we're going to be coming up, leave them in the comments. Any topics that you guys would like us to discuss or talk about.
Answer and
the best of our ability.
Talk about it the best we can on the next one.
With truth and in love.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it. And remember,
Jesus loves you.
Peace.